question then, ancestors. I mean, for me, yes, ancestors definitely. I do a bit of spirit work myself, so I do work with them throughout the year. But it does seem to be the time of the year for them, for honouring your ancestors, those that have passed over. How do you honour your ancestors? What is it that do you have something specific in your own practices that you do to honour them? I tend to put out the photos of my grandparents and great grandparents, various great uncles, and that will be my altar. My Samhain altar has photographs of them. Jess, do you do something specific to honour your ancestors?
Yeah, I did quite similar to Katie, actually. So I have just kind of a scroll, which is essentially a nice piece of paper, because I've also traced my family tree back. So my mum's side, I can trace back to the 1600s. And my dad's side is a complete enigma, like anywhere past his grandma, we've just got no idea. But essentially I've written down all the names of all of my ancestors. And then on Samhain, again, similar to you, any photos that I got or memorabilia or things that I've kind of learned through my research or working with them that they quite like, I'll kind of use that to decorate an altar. I will usually kind of write a poem and just recite a poem, light a candle, dedicate some incense to them. I'll lay out some food and, kind of have a little bit of a dinner with them. And then I usually end it by having a dance party with them, which I know sounds a little bit strange, but I'll put on some kind of, music from different eras over the past few decades and just, glass of wine and just invite my ancestors to kind of come and dance with me and just like have a little boogie in my flat and with all the curtains closed, because I'm sure the neighbours will be thinking, what the hell? So, Samhain usually it's very much around connecting with those ancestors, especially the ones that I kind of didn't know, and also trying to learn a bit more about the family history that I kind of, draw blanks on with the physical research, and just kind of inviting them to be with me and impart any lessons and just kind of enjoying their company. And I think it's quite interesting in working with them, I'm kind of seeing different ways that my ancestors might have influenced kind of my path that I probably wouldn't have noticed. So obviously, as I've kind of said, I'm a bit of a water witch, and I've always kind of wondered where that came from, because I'm an Aries, I'm a fire sign. I've always sort of wondered where that connection with the element of water came from. And I thought maybe growing up on an island surrounded by water, perhaps that was it. But actually looking at my family history, most of my ancestors were sailors. They worked on docks, they worked on ships. I mean, even looking at my kind of current family, most of them have worked for the ferries or on the docks. Like, there does seem to be this kind of ancestral like thread throughout our family that just has that connection with water. So I found that very interesting. And it's been fun kind of working with the ancestors and just doing that research and digging out little bits like this and learning more about myself as well. So sorry, I went off on a bit of a tangent, but that's generally my kind of standard Samhain celebrations.
Big party celebration, love it. Lucia.
Right, well, I think I'll talk about the different things I do when I'm working solitary and what I've done as part of a coven or a group. When I'm working solitary, I like you, I tend to put photographs of my mum and dad who've now passed, my grandma and granddad, and my relatives who passed, pictures of my cats that have passed, on my altar. I'll also tend to do some scrying. When I'm trying to communicate with the ancestors, I tend to use scrying. And at Samhain, I specifically will scry into water into a cauldron. It doesn't have to be a great big whopping huge cauldron that takes a vast amount of water to fill it. It can be a small cauldron. So I would tend to do that as my personal practice. In a group, I think probably my favourite, when I was in a coven, and the coven kind of, everyone moved away. But when I was in a coven, one of my favourite things to do was we would have a silent supper where we would set out a table. You should put a black cloth on it. And there are settings for everyone in the coven, but also you'd leave a setting with a seat, but not for any living person. And you would illuminate the room by candlelight, and there was usually a single candle near to the seat of the empty seat, and that is to invite any ancestors, the spirits of any ancestors, to visit for the supper. And you have the supper in complete silence, and you are honoring those who have passed, but you are giving those who have passed the opportunity to communicate with those who are present if they choose to. And I found that very, very effective. And that's also something that is not so witchy, that it's something that people who aren't specifically witchy can do. You can do it with your family. You could do it with your friends.
Definitely an experience. And actually quite a nice way, as you say, for anyone to honour those that have passed over. Yeah, it's difficult for me to keep my mouth shut for that long, but
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely an experience. Katie, what about you?
Mine's actually quite similar to Jess. I'm a very solitary practitioner, and I write a lot. I kind of write letters to those who have recently crossed over, and I work a lot with the dream world as well. So it's a very, very quiet practice in talking to them through letter writing. And sometimes I might go up to my local woods, which is an ancient woodland, and find a sort of place that looks like a crossroads. And I might drag my fiance with me to come along. And sometimes I'll have a little travel altar that I'll set up there, and I might recite the letters to nature. And sometimes I might bury them, or I might decide, no, I want to keep this one. And then I kind of sellotape it into my diary so that I can read back on the love that I have for that person. Lighting candles. And then when I prepare to go to sleep, I might drink like a tea that's like mugwort or something like that, and just prepare myself for that space and ask them to come to me in my dreams. And the dream practice is a really, really important thing to me. And sometimes they do. I have had such incredible dreams where spirit or ancestors have come through to me. So that's pretty much my practice. It's quite simple, lighting candles and writing letters and poetry to them, which is also what I've put in my book.
Hats off to you for drinking mugwort tea, though. Yuck.
I know it doesn't taste very great, but it's meant to be really good for heightening the dream.
Yes.
state, so.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And also,
I'm not a big fan of herbal.
usual.
I use an infusion for cleansing my scrying devices, but the taste, and also I've tried burning it in an incense blend, and oh no. I kind of go with, if the smell is really off-putting, however the symbolism and correspondences might be right, I'm going to be so off-put by the smell, I'm not going to use it.
Yeah.
I reckon if the smell is really bad, then it must be really good at cleansing. Brilliant. It's interesting how we all do slightly different things, but we all do similar things as well. I think, again, it's about making the practice yours. And I think it's important for anyone out there watching, listening, it's your practice. There's no right or wrong here. Take inspiration from what we do, from what other witches do, but ultimately it's your practice. So it has to work for you, because I'm not drinking mugwort tea.